Good morning, and glad to have you on the program Perspectives. Perspectives this morning on Invicta 98.9. And this morning we're still on the problems and issues concerning, Nigeria. Now, so many interpretations and so many analyses have come about Nigeria. As for some people, Nigeria is at its worst moment. For some analysts, Nigeria is in a hole. And for some, we are at the principes. And so it is about Nigeria. It is about, where, we are with Nigeria. And of course, how to get out of this hole. Now, today we're looking at the topic, Nigeria at the brink. Now, the questions, that were asked here is that how did we get here? Did we cut corners to get here? Or it was a systematic move that we made that got us here? All is not well with Nigeria. I mean, that's blunt as it should be. All is not well with Nigeria. And Nigerians in one voice are saying that we have to do something. Let's do something. Let's all hands be on deck to get us out of this wood. Well, people are talking about it, and we keep bringing guests on the program to talk about the issues of Nigeria, the state of the nation, as some people would rightly put it. This morning, I have Colonel A.D. Gora, retired, my guest this morning. Colonel A.D. Gora, for some of us who have been following him, is a prolific writer. He's always on the social media talking about Nigeria, talking about matters of governance, and never resting on, where Nigeria should be and how it should be governed. Well, for obvious reasons, that Colonel A.D. Gora, retired, will talk about these issues. But first, let's welcome Colonel A.D. Gora. Good morning, and glad to have you in our studios.
Good morning, sir. It's my pleasure once more to be here.
All right. Yes, I just, put the title of the topic for today as Nigeria, at the brink. And the question that comes to mind for me would be, how did we get there? This journey to be at the brink today, how did we get there? Did we cut corners, or it was a systematic move that we made that got us where we are today? And for obvious reasons, and for all Nigerians, this is not the right, and this is not the right position that would be. But for you, how we got here?
Long story. Simple answer. In problem solving, it is generally agreed that from a solution you can always walk back to the problem. The Nigerian situation is not any different. We planted exactly that which we are reaping today. First, we refuse to grow our democracy to a level that it will be sustainable. It is so sad and tragic that since 1999, the same players who populated the political space are the same players we have today. The question arises, what happens to our young men and young women? When will their season arrive? It is so sickening, and you know me very well, that I believe that charity begins at home, starting with Kaduna State. We have people who are bent on entrenching a system that is archaic, that has completely expired. And some of us are saying, no, these old jaded players must step aside and allow our youths to take the center stage. When will it be the time of the youths? And tragically so, these old players, these old war horses, have not done anything to grow the youth. So we are heading towards the precipice. Because in my view, in my very humble view, this is the season of the youths. The season of our young men and our young women. If they don't have it now, after these old horses may have left the political space, what then happens? You will have a void. That will be very, very difficult to breach up.
If he says this is a season of our youth, the question again will be how would our youths, take on the reins of leadership? Because one, for all that we see, let's go to the elections and saying about getting forms for election, and of course we talk about godfatherism that has always been there in our politics, and of course we'll talk about the money, which just how many of our youths can get all of this together and be ready to run?
This is why I am saying the old horses who have harvested so immensely from the political system are supposed to invest some of these funds into growing young people, even if it is from their own families. Of course, we have political families in this country. It's not for me to mention some of them, but some of them are still players, as it were, on the political stage. But there are some who are so selfish that they are neither growing people from their own homes, their communities, their wards, or even their local government. And therefore, we are heading towards a dead end.
Well, very good. There's hunger in the land. There is vexation that filled the space. And of course, we keep talking about all the things that, does not make this country work. This is one area where you can speak on this, and I'm talking about insecurity in the country. You've been at the forefront. You've seen the wars. In Nigeria and outside Nigeria, we had the 67-70 war, and then we went to our borders, West African borders, to have another war. You were there, and the question being asked by most Nigerians is that how do we have a people that were once tagged as ragtag army now come to dominate or to take over some places, raise their flags? That question has been asked. Where is the Nigerian army that we once knew that kept Nigeria together, go on with one Nigeria, and they kept it going, and then were asked to come to outside borders of Nigeria, and they excelled too? Where is this army?
Of course, you know that the Nigerian military or the entire security architecture is a creation of the political system. If that is true, if our military today has been reduced to what it is, then the faults do not lie anywhere other than the political players, as it were. It is so sad. When Nigeria became independent in 1960, everyone was calling Nigeria the giant of Africa because we have immense resources, we have a huge population, good arable lands, but over time, or at that time, as it were, we had a sustainable military that was reckoned with around the world, which is the more reason even the United Nations would come to us and ask Nigeria to contribute troops to the peace efforts elsewhere in the world. Liberia, Sierra Leone, and some other countries. I was in Lebanon myself. But what has happened over time? That illiterates, complete illiterates from the Senegambia region and the foothills of the Futajalon highlands in West Africa would carry arms, move in, and make a mess of our military. How did they get in here? It is because our borders are porous, and even when they were filtering through, nobody appeared to take note from the onset. Like I've always said, I will always look at the area I come from. When this insurgency first started in my area, people were wondering, where did these people come from? And where are they getting their supply of arms? There was a report at that time of our people saying they had spotted helicopters probably delivering logistics to these insurgents. At that time, I didn't believe it because I didn't see how that is possible. Because when I was in service, I used to know that there was radar coverage over every inch of Nigerian territory. The Air Force had their radars covering various sections, and there was an internal coordination center. such that if there was a violation of our airspace at any point, we would scramble, the Air Force would scramble interceptors to find out what is happening. What has happened to that capacity? What of the Nigerian Aerospace Management Agency? They have radars too. Does it mean Nigeria has suddenly become so porous that even vultures can fly in without being dictated? Then where lies our sovereignty?
This is one question that I'd like to ask you, and I'm taking this from the international space too, about each time I hear about retirements, in the military, something just hits me, and I look at young men and women in the military who are retired at, some would just say close to 50 or, a little above 50, and so much investment, Nigerian investments, has been put on these people. And we'll talk about the reserves too, like what happened in the United States of America. We heard that, the reserve had to be, brought in here. But the story of Nigeria is different here. Men and women retired at their prime time, and so much investment put on them. Now, I just cannot get it.
This is Nigeria, where nothing works. The concept of a reserve is there in the books, but it has not actually been activated. I know the Israeli army have frontline troops, but essentially the bulk of their strength lies in their reserve. And within a week, they would call up their reserves. Here you have a system that is so selective in career progression. Those who have the capacity to remain and make the system work for flimsy or on flimsy grounds are eased out of the system. But again, the military itself being subject to civil leadership, as it were, cannot operate outside, except if a special provision is made outside the civil service regulations that states that upon clocking the age of 60, you have to leave, or on completing a period of 35 years, you have to leave. But I think the military should be an exception, because of this very idea of a reserve that you are talking about. Yes, the reserves enjoy their pension, so they have a little of indebtedness to the nation. When they are called up appropriately, they will come up. I can assure you now, if you call some people to come up to bear arms once again for this country, they will turn down the offer, because the nation has not been fair to them. I heard President Biden promised during his electioneering campaigns that he was going to make sure that every American retired serviceman gets his due. First-class medical attention, and the others that follow. Can you say that of Nigeria? We have a system that, though it has eyes, does not see. Though it has ears, it does not hear, and therefore nothing gets done. That is how we got to the valley, or we are fast getting to the valley, to put it in another way.
There are agitations coming from all over, and again, where we are with Nigeria is that suspicion has crept into our polity, and it's all because from the divide of the north, south, east, west, and all of that is coming in. But here was one great nation, and I recall that Chinua Achebe, late Professor Chinua Achebe, had written about there was a country. There was a country.
Yes, country.
Yes.
Fantastic writer.
Yes, and here we are, that we cannot say. But again, he put the blame mostly on the political class, the elite too, and what they have done about where we are, at this brink where we are.
Where else would he have put the blame? To the angels? Or to the animals in the wild? I said earlier that we planted that which we are reaping today, until we have a change of heart to do things the way they should be done, to look at people based on their quality, what they can put out. If we look at them from the prism of religion, from the prism of nepotism, from the prism of ethnicity, then we have lost it all. In America, nobody discriminates about you if you are Yoruba or Igbo. Most times you've seen it from international televisions. How Nigerians are performing wonders out there. Why not back here in Nigeria? It cannot work because we have become hostages to religious considerations, ethnic considerations, and therefore we are moving at the speed of a snail.
Can we get out of this wood?
Of course, why not? There is no situation in the world that you cannot overcome. You must have the conviction. You must have the belief. And you must be determined to do things right. If you don't do... Look, did Albert Einstein not describe madness as doing the same thing all over again, yet expecting different outcomes? Do you think Nigeria will get out of this stranglehold? In fact, the Nigerian polity has been taken hostage by a class of people who are so backward, who are not foresighted, who are not strategic in their thinking. All that concerns them is to amass wealth for their families and their cronies. If you go out, even if you are blind, you will manage to see people with long contorted faces everywhere. That shows you the level of disenchantment with the system that we're operating.
I still come back to the youth. I take a cue from the NSAS. What happened? That was crushed, so to say, and this agitation was by the youth too. But again, we did not see commitment of youths all over the country. Now that's the suspicion and deficit of trust that I was talking about. That we can't come out with one voice to say that it is enough. You
see, Nigeria has a lot going against it. There was a coup in Myanmar a few weeks back. You've seen the commitment of the population in Myanmar in resisting military dictatorship. Can that happen in Nigeria? The moment something happens, they will either say, oh no, it is Christians ganging up against Muslims, or it is Muslims ganging up against Christians, or Yoruba against Igbo, or Igbo against Hausa. I am glad finally that the jaded phrase Hausa Fulani has been consigned where it actually belongs. We have Hausa clearly and we have Fulani, so it's no longer expedient to deploy that phrase because it has no meaning.
Now, again, state of the nation, Nigeria at the brink, concerns for all, and that's why we come up with this program to put information across and enlighten the people about what they need to know. Education, again, that should be one key area to hold for development of a nation. Again, we're talking about schools, have closed, and for how long children stayed back home. Now we're talking about another thing, that insecurity and how much it affects, institutions. I'm looking at the secondary school kidnap of students. I'm looking at teachers and lecturers all kidnapped. And I'm looking at how parents would want their children to go to school in the face of this terrible act on this institution of learning.
Toyin, because charity begins at home, let me go to my village. Yesterday, the 3rd day of March, we have a small detachment of military men stationed in my village who have not in any way, in my view, been of help as to improve the security environment there. Women who were peacefully demonstrating yesterday, a soldier took aim, not in the range as you will have in target shooting, took aim at a woman and shot her dead. The same part of the population that he is there to protect. So how do you explain that? If it was in the days that I was in service, when the system was working, that soldier will have to answer for his action. Even if he received orders from the commander on the ground, he has common sense, for God's sake. He ought to have the capacity to discern from what is right from what is wrong. He must have the capacity to distinguish between what is lawful and unlawful orders. Therefore, he cannot even seek refuge behind the languid excuse of having been given orders by his commander. Following closely to that, the rainy season is fast approaching. In my village, most of the population, particularly the women and the young ones, had to leave. Because when these killers come, they don't apply the laws of war if, assuming that there was even a declared war. The centrality of holding a weapon is to protect the lawful. Except if somebody is moving against you, you may not have a justification for taking his life. If there was need at all to fire a shot, it should have been aimed low, to fire to win, to wound, not to fire to kill. So we have a situation where the insurgents are killing our people on the one side, and the military is decimating the population on the other side. Where do we go to from here?
That's just the one case out of so many coming up that we're seeing, and here's a concern too.
Have you heard about Zamfara?
Yes.
Have you heard about Katsina?
Yes.
So what makes it any different? A life in Zamfara or a life in Rivers State taken illegally, it undermines our place as a decent people. If a man must lose his life, for God's sake, let it be through a proper judicial process. The justice system is another ball game entirely, because the system is so variously abused that you wonder the best thing for you is just to pray in your house and to make sure you don't go to the wrong places, even if it is at the right time.
When you hear former vice president of the country, I'm talking about Atiku now, saying that the state of emergency should be on, security in the country, what do you make out of that?
Well, I don't know how it will work, because you must have the capacity to enforce it. It is just like in Kaduna, when something happens, some people will go and declare state of emergency, curfew. You do not declare a curfew until you have assessed the situation, assessed the number of troops to enforce it before it is so declared. But here, somebody wakes up from his sleep and declare a state of emergency when clearly it is not enforceable.
That's the issue here.
Oh,
it's
yes.
Enforceable.
How do you enforce it? If you say you are flying to the moon, like some nations are doing, surely you must have built the technology to take you there. Otherwise, it is wishful thinking.
The program is Perspectives this morning, and we're talking about Nigeria at the brink. And of course, concerns of all has been that we must get Nigeria working again, and we don't get this push. Just some people say that just a little push would just, get it all wrong for us. And Colonel Eddie Gora retired, a public affairs analyst, sharing thoughts with us about where we are today with the nation. We'll come back after this break. Welcome back. Is the program Perspectives this morning, and we're looking at Nigeria at the brink, and so much concern put here that we must not allow ourselves or the nation to fall. Falling would mean from that point, it would mean that we just maybe go in our separate ways. That's what Nigerians are clamoring for, that we do not get to that point. Now, again, on the issue of, talking about our elections and what's coming up for 2023, some people have started talking about would 2023 hold with what is coming out of the Nigerian nation. We're seeing now that some people are talking about a nation of their own and clamoring for for them to go their separate ways. We're also seeing or hearing to know now that things are just not right, and we'll be referred to the 2014 confab that would have solved the issue if that had been taken to its the fullest scale. But we're not there. We did not get it, and so we have to find a way or have a way to arrange for ourselves that we still remain this one nation. And I just said, at the beginning of the program that Colonel A.D. Gura, retired, a public affairs analyst too, with me in the studios and sharing his thoughts. Now, these are problems in Nigeria, and we have so many of them. And the question being asked is that, how do we, solve them? We want to find a solution to some of these problems. They've been there with us. Some people say from the founding days of Nigeria as a nation, that these problems have been there with us, and we're just getting it at its fullest scale now. For you, dialogue would be one way to resolve issues, and before we get there to a point where we find unacceptable and not being sustainable, for you, where are the major highlights that you want this nation to address?
I am so glad that you mentioned the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan confab. It was a gathering of people who sat down to look at the problems of Nigeria and to find a way,
selected people,
carefully selected, to look into the maze, as it were, or into the blank spaces, to try to come up with a solution as to avoid getting to this same brink you have mentioned several times. They sat down, they deliberated and came up with a report. But because I want to believe that Jonathan, much as he intended well for the nation, was politically naive, because that report was submitted 1 year before the expiration of his tenure. If he had taken steps to implement that, because I know part of the recommendation was that they talked about creating zones, geopolitical zones, about 6 of them. Had that been done, we won't be in this mess today. The behemoth North will not continue to flaunt her size and population that is largely made of oppressed minorities on the others. Even if that report had its weaknesses, the time is now to set up yet a smaller body to look at that report and come up with a recommendation. The important thing is saving this nation, because it will not do us any good if anybody retires to his ethnic cocoon. This nation used to work harmoniously at some point. We had a rail system, even though it was not a modern rail system, that worked. Ferried people from Port Harcourt to Kano, from Lagos to Maiduguri. As it were, we had an airline, Nigerian Airways, that worked. Today, that is all history, and our roads are not passable. That aside, kidnappers have dominated the highways for ransom. I wrote from the onset, I said, do not pay any ransom to anybody. I thought government should have come out with a policy to discourage people from paying ransom. The government went to sleep and allowed even government agencies and government itself to pay these criminals ransom monies for kidnapping. So that vocation, if you call it that, has grown in leaps and bounds, and that is the only place you can readily find employment, as it were, today. So we need the grace of God, but I think God should be tired of this country, for God's sake. We have educated people, but we are refusing to deploy our knowledge as remedy to this nation's troubles. Yet people will say they are patriotic. What manner of patriotism?
These are questions begging for answers here too, and again proffering solutions to this, problems that we're facing today, and how to get out of these woods that we have identified. But again, Colonel, an issue that also still stands out, the issue of the federal character. I want to bring that in here.
There is nothing like federal character anymore. It is dead. It has been dead a long time ago, particularly under the present government, both in my state and at the federal level. Whenever a vacancy was created somewhere, they carefully would look for someone that would serve their purpose and appoint him there. They no longer look at the need to balance up. And this is what is helping to generate more heat in the system.
So can we stand the heat now when, from the, different divides of the country, so much pressure is coming, at the presidency, so to say, or at the national level, that things are not working and things must work. And so if things don't work, let's go our ways, go our separate ways. There's so much pressure that's coming now.
Where is the engine room? The strategic level of governance is up there. It is at that level that they sit down and look at the problem on its merit and come up with solutions that will now be implemented down the line. But has anybody given a hint as to which way we are going? I read a report the other day by the president's press man, who, rather than blaming those of them there, was blaming the Nigerian people for the problems of this nation. I felt sick. I felt terribly sick. How can the people be the problem? The same people that voted you into power. Refusing to see your own weaknesses, your own failings, is the problem. In other nations of the world, the moment something happens, the president is there to begin the processes of ameliorating those problems, but not in Nigeria. In fact, Abuja has become a comfort zone or a cocoon where people are hiding and insulating themselves from the problem of the nation. That is why you have to pray before you leave your family so that you can go back in the evening to meet them.
Let me just ask you this before we, come to the audience here, and that's about the political parties that we have. We have two strong political parties, and for reasons, that we all, can attest to, the APC came on board in 2015, and now, we're looking, at 2023 now, and some people are saying that some things must change. Is it about the party or about the individuals that are with the party? And so, if we're going to talk about any change, what are we looking at?
Let me even start with our Kaduna State, because charity begins where?
At home.
At home. We have information on audio, on video, hard copies of how some characters sold the interests of the PDP in 2015 and 2019 to APC. I just did a post today asking or telling people that these guys are now running scared. They are running scared because the information is now in the public domain. And we will spread that information until every passionate member of the PDP in Kaduna hears about it. But this is not to say that the PDP itself is a party of angels. No, far from it. But I think, on the average, I would rather go for the PDP than this contraption called the APC.
No, I wouldn't doubt that. If you do that,
if you ask,
for obvious reasons, yes, that's where you'd go.
If you ask, who is there in the APC that wasn't a PDP member? So simply we're having old wines returned to new bottles. But what I'm saying, the books, our political books, clearly are stating how things should be done. But because of the culture of impunity, we are not doing that. How many of our passionate members know out there that within the 4-year lifespan of a government, after 2 years, there is supposed to be a vote of confidence called on the executives at all levels? The proviso is that whoever fails to scale through will be dropped and another person take his place. But if that no confidence vote is not called, such may live through their 4 years, but they will never recontest again because they are not qualified. And we have people floating themselves as ex-cos of the PDP at ward, sorry, not at ward, at local government and state level, when they know that no congresses were held. I say this on authority because a court of law stopped what passed for the local government congresses, from where the delegates that chose the contraption, the illegal contraption that is flaunting itself about as PDP ESCO in Kaduna State, distilled. So do you call that democracy? What we are saying, free up the party. The party is not anybody's personal property. The power actually to elect a government rests with the people who are casting their votes. But you can cast your vote and then some people will manipulate it elsewhere. Reference what I told you about the processes by which the people who call themselves PDP godfathers sold out.
And so can PDP be said to be an opposition in Kaduna State? Yes, I'm saying this because I've heard some of my guests here from the other party say that there's no opposition in Kaduna State.
Well, to the extent that PDP is not occupying Sir Kashim Ibrahim House, it is therefore an opposition party. But what quality of opposition is the issue? We have had situations where, even before the congresses were held, people that held sensitive positions that should put out to the polity the thinking and the goodwill of the PDP out there in order to encourage others to come. They never did that. All they were satisfied with was with the positions they held. Therein lies the tragedy of our politics. Some of us are in it not because we hope to gain anything from it. By the grace of God, I have food in my house to feed myself and to feed my family. But given the current situation we are in now, I am scared, because unless our peasant farmers are free to go out there and cultivate the bowels of Mother Earth, that they may bring the extra for us to buy, I can tell you that we are on the way to mass starvation, because the Fulani are not bringing.
No, again, this coloration that you put to it.
They are bringing arms.
No, again, profiling people.
No, I'm not profiling.
No, that's again an issue.
Let's call a spade for God's sake.
No, but profiling.
So do you want me to say? Do you want to say it is angels? Yeah. Do you want me to say
criminals?
Okay,
criminals are criminals.
Angels.
Criminals are criminals wherever you find them.
I won't even call. I won't even have the dignity.
Criminals are criminals wherever you find them.
Following from your thinking. Let's settle on calling them angels.
No, I mean, we know them. We know what angels are, who angels are. But again, criminals are criminals all over, and so that's about it. Let's quickly get to know the audience to be part of this conversation. Quickly on 081 40,000 989, 081 40,000 989, or 070 87 800 989, 070 087-800-989. Hello, good morning.
A very good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Master. My Ogadia in the house. The Colonel.
You are right, Mister. I would rather that you address me as Mister and not even Colonel because I've left the system.
But once a soldier is always a soldier.
That's true.
So,
yes, let's hear you, Kure.
Kure by name.
Yes.
He is my neighbor. Honestly, he has said it all. If you look at the way we are going in this country, I always cry for our retired generals. Honestly, this administration has put them into shape. I'm not expecting all this thing that is happening in security, particular insecurity happening under the watch of a general. What is slap? I don't think we get it right. The politician knows their ways. Moreover, now the military cannot even say anything. Can you imagine what a retired general is saying, that to overcome this insecurity to take another 20 years? I was expecting by now they will put him on that bar, because he must have to tell us the plain truth what makes they cannot overcome that insecurity. But God will surely give us somebody that will overcome that insecurity. You know what they are planning.
Do you have a question, Kure? You have a question?
No, I don't have any question.
Okay, so we got you.
My own is just advice.
All right, we got you on that.
Thank you very much.
All right, still with your calls? Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. My name is Christopher from television.
All right, Christopher, let's hear you.
I greet you, my retired colonel.
Good morning, sir.
You have spoken my heart, what I want to say. In the system of this our country now, there's nothing like federal character. And the people that say that they are in the power now, they say that they want to change the country, that is good luck and not doing well. Now they come on board, but the system now is water than what we have ever seen before we've won.
Matter of opinion here, Christopher.
What I'm saying is that if they cannot put the system in order, they should resign.
Okay, all right.
That's my own.
Okay, we got you. All right, so one more call, we'll come back to our guest in the studios. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. My name is... Hello?
With you.
Okay. A point of correction. No one has never been in PDP. And at the same time, the comments say, how can people not be the problem? And he has just reported how some people in PDP selling, hello?
Yes, with you.
Party to APC. At the same time, I want to express my regret that the whole colonel of Nigerian Army.
Please be mindful, mind your language and be civil, please. Yes, just say what you want to say, please. Not on persons here.
When you even correct him, somebody looking for election and profiling my ethnic group as the one bringing weapons, he will come to us asking for vote. I will ask him to explain what he means by Fulani bringing weapons and not any other tribe in Nigeria. I believe that
has been addressed, Musa Bala. That was addressed. I thought we had gone past that. We're not profiling people here. It's not about.
He has not accepted it. He has not accepted it.
Please, Musa, do you have anything you want to add to this conversation, please?
My question to him is just one. As he denies federal character, please, I want him to tell me any state of the federation that is not represented in this government.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll just take one more and then come back to our guests to close up. Hello, good morning.
Hey, Sam.
The name again?
Sam.
Sam, okay.
Yeah, I said it all. In fact, I wish this corner is still in the system. This is the kind of people who want them to deliver this country from the hand of the bad leadership.
Okay.
In fact, the colonel is given on them by God, but it is very difficult for us to find out those people that can give us what we really need in our nature. They will deprive them in any way, not hinder them not to participate at all costs. So what we are saying now is that if actually our system of government, security agencies and other things. If they can only do this one thing, remove fanatics in religion, both Christian, Muslim. My brother, this country will be a place that me and you, other investment, come and invest, and even to get idea from us. What is killing Nigeria, spiritually, specifically, is fanatics or religion. My brother, this thing that is happening like this today, there's nobody, our religious leaders, traditional rulers, governors, will tell us that they don't know anything concerning these things.
Okay, Sam. All right, Sam. We got you on that, Sam. Panagura, you heard them all. The guests.
Essentially, I want to attempt to address the concerns of Musa Bala. I think the third caller.
Yes.
I do not know the level of his education, but I want to just advise Musa Bala to go into the internet and look up a town called Aleppo in northern Syria. One of the oldest towns that received a mention even in the Bible. Let him see the ruins that lies there. How did they come about? Because of policy issues, of bad governance with a veneer of religious fanaticism. I don't really care what anybody's faith is. Give me my place and you will have your place. But the moment you are trying to take your place and take another person's place, you can expect that there are people out there who will confront you. Let Bala also go and do a fact check. Fact check. The internet is there, and find out where the various appointment holders of important positions in this nation are from. I raised my case here.
Colonel, just before we go, the truth about the matter is that you are an elder, you will always be, and people look up to you in matters of governance and your thoughts on how governance should go in this country. And so at all times one would expect that, again, because of the situation of the country, we are mindful and civil with the way we address issues. Again, not to talk on persons and our religions and our ethnicity and all of that. That's creating more heat on how to resolve issues.
See, Tony, look, if you do not call a spade, then you miss the target. You might end up just hitting a cat when in fact you are aiming at a dog. Who is scared of what? Let's sit down and tell ourselves the truth, for God's sake. I didn't come here to profile anybody. I came to state the facts as I know them, but I'm not arrogating knowledge to myself. I may well be wrong. I want someone to come out with a superior idea. If he does or she does so, I will give way. I'm a very rational person.
Colonel Eddie Gora, thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And that has been Perspectives today. Of course, we had the arguments coming in, and of course, concerns, about the state of the nation, and we all are concerned here too, and that Nigeria must work and get ourselves out of the brink. Colonel Eddie Gora, retired, my guest this morning, is also a public affairs analyst. We'll come back with Perspectives tomorrow. Please, thank you for connecting us with the people. Good morning.